Welcome to the Bovine Breakdown, where we turn complex dairy genetics into actionable insights. Today, we're diving into the seismic shifts of the April 2025 global Holstein evaluations. Historic U.S. genetic base changes, polled sires breaking into elite tiers, and Germany's revolutionary single-step method. This episode unpacks it all. Ever wondered how a 750-pound milk PTA drop doesn't actually mean genetic progress is slowing? Or why polled bulls like Cardiff P and Triton PP are suddenly topping leaderboards? We'll break down the numbers, interview leading geneticists, and explore what these evaluations mean for your breeding strategy. Stick around, whether you're a commercial producer eyeing net merit stars like Darth Vader or a pedigree breeder tracking TPI leaders. This episode is your roadmap to the future of dairy genetics.
All right, let's unpack this mountain of Holstein data that just landed on our desks, the April 2025 global evaluations.
Yeah, quite the data dump.
You sent over the intel from the US, Canada, Germany, and Switzerland, plus some seriously interesting global trend analysis. Forget wading through pages of numbers. Think of us as your genetic interpreters, Here to highlight the key shifts and what they really mean for your breeding decisions back on the farm.
Definitely.
It's like the global dairy gene pool just got a major update.
Yeah.
And we're here to give you the essential patch notes.
Well, what's fascinating as we dive into this is seeing how different regions are approaching genetic improvement right now. We're not just talking about small incremental changes.
Yeah.
There's some significant methodological updates happening in some areas and clear priorities emerging in others. For you, understanding these different approaches and the resulting trends is going to be key for making smart, long-term decisions.
Okay, let's start stateside then. And let me tell you, the U.S. Holstein evaluations have gone through what you might call a major recalibration, the biggest genetic base change we have ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't just a minor adjustment. They've essentially reset their yardstick, basing everything on the performance of cows born in 2020.
Precisely. So what you're observing are some fairly substantial numerical drops across the board in predicted translating abilities, or PTAs.
Yeah.
We're talking roughly 750 pounds less milk, 35 pounds less fat, and 30 pounds less protein in those numbers.
Yeah.
Now, the crucial thing for you to understand is that this doesn't automatically mean the top bulls are genetically inferior to where they were before, in an absolute sense.
Right.
It's more about this new baseline. Think of it like measuring the height of everyone in a room. If you suddenly use a ruler that starts a few inches higher, everyone's measured height will be less, but their height relative to each other hasn't changed.
That's a great way to put it. Genosaur's Captain, for example, is still a leading name, not because his raw PTA numbers are the same as before, but because his performance relative to this new 2020-born average still puts him at the top of the game.
Yeah.
Even with the reset button being hit, he's still one of the tallest in the room, so to speak.
And when we look at the Genomic Total Performance Index, or TPI rankings, that's the main index many U.S. breeders use, IP Cord, is still holding on to that coveted #1 spot with a solid 3D537.
It's still there.
Even with this big base change, his ability to maintain that position really speaks to his consistent genetic excellence.
Yeah.
Following him closely are some exciting newer bulls like A-Bay at 3506 and Jay-Z at 3506. And then you've got the well-known sires Darth Vader at 3504 and Watchman at 3499 rounding out the top 5.
Mm-hmm.
What's particularly encouraging for you is that these top bulls show you don't have to sacrifice overall balance and traits to achieve a high TPI.
Yeah, good point. And for those of you really focused on the economics, Darth Vader is leading the way in net merit, clocking in at a pretty hefty $1,270.
That's strong.
Ripcord and endurance are right behind him. This tells you that the economic selection indices are really valuing milk components and how long those cows are productive in your herd under this new evaluation system. So those traits are going to have a bigger impact on that dollar figure.
That's a really critical insight for your breeding decisions. This base change has also somewhat unintentionally amplified the impact of the increasing rate of inbreeding within the Holstein breed.
Oh, interesting.
Since 2015, inbreeding levels have risen by a significant 28%. This isn't something you can afford to ignore. Maintaining genetic diversity in your herd is vital for long-term health, fertility, and overall resilience.
Absolutely.
So as you're selecting for those high-ranking bulls, keep an eye on their pedigrees and consider strategies to manage inbreeding risk in your matings.
Now, a little heads up for everyone relying heavily on calving traits in their selection. The numbers there are a bit wonky right now.
Yeah, a bit shaky.
They are still stabilizing after this major base change and aren't expected to really settle down until the August evaluation update. So maybe hold your horses on making any big breeding decisions solely based on those calving ease numbers for the next few months until things become a bit clearer.
Good advice. It's also important for you to note the continued impressive progress we're seeing in the red and white Holstein sector in the U.S. We now have several red and white bulls breaking that 3,200 TPI mark.
Nice.
Papaya Red is leading the pack with a TPI of 3,285 and exceptionally strong type traits. Morris Red and Pegasus Red are also right up there, demonstrating that you absolutely don't have to give up top-notch genetics if you prefer that striking red coat.
So for all of you in the U.S., the main message here is don't panic when you see those lower numbers. Focus on how bulls rank relative to each other within this new base.
Exactly.
Adjust your internal thresholds for selection and stick to a well-rounded breeding strategy that aligns with your specific farm goals.
All right, let's pivot and take a look at what's happening north of the border in Canada. The April evaluations there really highlight a consistent and balanced approach to genetic improvement.
Yeah, the Canadian dairy folks seem to have a real knack for that balanced breeding philosophy, don't they? Leading the genomic GLPI list, that's their general purpose index, is OCD Monkey with an impressive 47.9. And when you look at his production figures, they're outstanding. Over 1,200 kilograms of milk, 134 kilograms of fat, and 74 kilograms of protein, all while maintaining strong conformation, especially in those crucial mammary systems and overall dairy strength. That's the kind of well-rounded package many are looking for.
Hot on his heels at 4078 GLPI is Progenesis Impulse, who really excels in fat production and daughter fertility. That combination of high production and good reproductive performance is a real hallmark of the Canadian breeding scene.
Yeah.
It shows they're not just chasing milk volume, they're also focused on those traits that contribute to long-term profitability and cow longevity.
And the rest of the genomic top 5 Attaway Beyond Fitness, OCD Milan, and Progenesis Melnick, they really do reinforce this trend of well-rounded genetics. You don't see any extreme outliers in one particular trait. They're strong across the board.
Exactly. And when we look at the daughter-proven sires in Canada, SSI PR Renegade is still holding the top spot with an LPI of 300 and 850. That's their lifetime profitability index.
Still the king.
His exceptional production and those impressive feet and legs are backed by a significant amount of real-world daughter data from herds across the country, giving breeders a high degree of confidence in those numbers.
For those of you who really prioritize conformation, those cows that look good and stand the test of time, Walnut Lawn PG Brightstar is leading the genomic conformation list in Canada, and Blonde and Edgy is the top daughter-proven sire, particularly excelling in mammary systems and, you guessed it, those all-important feet and legs.
Always feet and legs.
As we all know, a cow with good structure is a cow that's going to last in your milking string.
We're also seeing a really interesting newcomer in the Canadian rankings. For Home Vic Triton PP, who's ranked 30th with a GLPI of 3,952.
Okay.
What's particularly noteworthy for you is that he's polled and has exceptional production and component deviations. We're talking significantly higher fat and protein percentages. This is a really interesting development, hinting at a growing global trend that we'll delve into more later in our discussion.
The polled factor, yeah.
It suggests you might not have to sacrifice production for polled genetics.
So the Canadian message seems pretty clear. They've got a deep pool of high-quality genetics available for breeders looking to make improvements across all the economically important traits. Their evaluations really reflect a long-term commitment to breeding cows that are not only highly productive, but also built to have long and profitable lives in your herd.
Now let's cross the Atlantic and take a look at Germany, where they've implemented a really significant change in how they conduct their genetic evaluations.
You got it. Over in Germany, they've essentially revamped their entire system with the introduction of the single-step method. It sounds a bit like a complicated dance, but it's actually a pretty revolutionary shift in how they're assessing genetic merit.
It truly is a fundamental advancement. Traditionally, genetic evaluations have often used a multi-step approach, analyzing pedigree information, performance data from cows, and genomic information separately, and then combining them.
Right.
The single-step method, however, integrates all of that available information, the pedigree, the actual performance records of the animals, and their complete DNA information simultaneously in one comprehensive analysis. For you, this means more accurate and, importantly, more reliable predictions of a bull's true genetic potential.
Okay.
Think of it like getting the complete picture all at once instead of piecing it together from different snapshots.
And who's leading the charge in the black and white genomic rankings under this new single-step system? It's Picard's son, Pennywise, clocking in with an impressive plus 165 RSVG, which is the German relative breeding value, a key index for German breeders. He's shown a nice jump since the December evaluation, so he's clearly performing well under this new system.
Right on his heels is Real Sin's son, Rise Up, and then we see a really competitive group of bulls tied for third place, including Pirelli, Argentum, Pickup, Alaska, Vino PRC, and Top Champ. This really highlights the depth of high-quality black and white genetics available to you in Germany, even with this major methodological change.
Now, this is where that poll trend we saw a little glimpse of in Canada really takes off like a rocket.
Yeah, here it comes.
Cardiff P is leading the red and white genomic list in Germany at plus 162 RZG. And get this, 3 other polled sires are right there in second place: Maxime P, Schach, and Malaga Red. Polled genetics are no longer just a niche for breeders focused on animal welfare. They're right at the very top of the rankings for overall genetic merit in the red and whites.
It's pretty remarkable. And when we look at the proven sires in Germany, those with daughters already in the milk, Ginger is still holding on to the top spot with a solid 148 RZG. What's really encouraging for your confidence in these proven bulls is that all of the top 5 actually showed positive movement since the last evaluation.
That's good to see.
Indicating continued reliability and strong performance from their daughters in commercial dairy herds.
It's Dr. Kristen Schmidtmann from VIT, a key player in the German evaluation system, really summed it up well when she said this switch to single step is a significant step forward for breeding both high-producing and healthy cows. It's not just about getting a slightly different set of numbers. It's about having greater confidence that those numbers truly reflect the genetic potential for traits that matter most to your bottom line.
Exactly. The enhanced reliability that single step provides means more stable breeding values, which translates to more accurate predictions, especially for those crucial functional traits like health, fertility, and longevity.
Which can be tricky.
Which can sometimes be harder to measure accurately and have lower reliability in traditional evaluation systems. We're talking about potential reliability increases of up to 14% for some health traits. For you, this is a game changer because it allows you to make more informed and confident breeding decisions aimed at improving the overall health, well-being, and profitability of your herd in the long run.
14%, that's huge. All right, let's head south now to the picturesque Swiss Alps and see what's happening with the Holstein evaluations in Switzerland. They always seem to have a very clear and consistent focus on specific key areas.
That's right. The Swiss evaluations for April 2025 show some really interesting movements, particularly in the proven sire rankings. Sue Moreau in Boston has made a massive leap in TPI now. Keep in mind that while other countries use TPI, the Swiss index may have slightly different weightings for traits gaining a remarkable 80 points since December. His real strength lies in that desirable combination of efficient milk production with improved daughter fertility, which, as the Swiss Holstein Association has highlighted, makes him a really attractive option for commercial dairy operations that are laser-focused on profitability and reproductive efficiency.
And the ever-reliable cookie cutter Hadley continues to impress in Switzerland, moving up in their rankings thanks to his exceptional ability to transmit longevity, those cows that stay in your herd for more lactations and improve protein components in their milk.
Longevity and protein.
He's really proving his worth as a sire of long-lasting, productive cows in real-world farm environments, which is ultimately what we're all striving for.
We've also seen significant gains for Swisskin Enrico, who's really standing out for his superior transmission of high protein percentages in milk, gaining a substantial 70 TPI points since December, and Empire, who's showing notable improvements in the health trait indexes in the Swiss system.
Okay.
These trends really underscore the Swiss emphasis on milk quality and healthy, robust cows.
The genomic young sire list is where things get even more interesting in Switzerland, with TGD Holstein Beauty Man making a big splash right where the top. This young bull combines elite potential for high milk production with really eye-catching conformation scores.
The total package, potentially.
Which has definitely got the attention of breeders who are focused on both performance and the visual appeal and functional correctness of their animals. And it's also interesting to note that we're seeing several sons of cookie cutter Hadley now appearing in the genomic rankings in Switzerland, suggesting his strong genetic influence, particularly for longevity and protein, is going to continue to be felt for years to come.
The key trends emerging from the Swiss evaluations really emphasize a strong focus on sustainability in dairy production. They are clearly prioritizing longevity, enhanced protein efficiency in milk, advancements in udder health, which is critical for reducing antibiotic use, and overall a more balanced approach to breeding that considers both production and the well-being and longevity of the animals.
Makes sense.
As the Swiss Holstein Association has pointed out, cows that are highly productive, remain healthy, and stay in the herd longer are the ideal profile for environmentally conscious and economically viable dairy farming, and their breeding goals clearly reflect that philosophy.
So we've taken a whirlwind tour of the major Holstein evaluation systems around the globe. Now, let's step back and look at the bigger picture. What are some of the common threads and overarching trends that we're seeing emerge across the US, Canada, Germany, and Switzerland?
Well, one of the most prominent trends that's really solidified is the continued strengthening of the balanced breeding approach globally.
Yeah, that seems clear.
The top bulls in virtually every region we've discussed are demonstrating impressive credentials, not just for milk production, but also for sound conformation, and those critically important functional traits like fertility, health, and longevity. The era of hyper-focusing solely on maximizing milk volume at the expense of everything else seems to be steadily receding.
And we absolutely have to circle back to the polled revolution. The significant rise of polled genetics into the top echelons of rankings worldwide is undeniable. From Framholm Vec Triton PP making waves in Canada with his polled status and high components to the outright dominance of polled sires in Germany's red and white rankings.
Shit's amazing.
It's crystal clear that you can now confidently select for the polled trait without having to sacrifice any of the other key performance indicators. This is a huge win for animal welfare on dairy farms, and it's exciting to see it reflected right at the top of the genetic rankings internationally.
Absolutely. And the advancements we're seeing in the reliability of genomic evaluations, particularly with Germany's successful implementation of the single-step method, are a real game changer for the industry. More reliable predictions mean that you, as dairy breeders, can have greater confidence in your selection decisions, especially for those traits that have traditionally been more challenging to predict accurately, such as health and fitness.
Right.
This increased reliability allows for more targeted and effective genetic progress in your herds.
It's also abundantly clear that health and fitness traits are a global priority in dairy breeding. The top bulls across all these different evaluation systems are consistently showing improvements in daughter fertility, productive life, and udder health. The global dairy industry and the breeders who are driving genetic progress seem to have a strong collective understanding of the long-term economic and sustainability benefits of breeding cows that are not just high producers, but are also built to last and perform efficiently over their entire lifetimes.
And finally, when it comes to milk production itself, the emphasis is increasingly shifting toward the components butter, fat, and protein percentages, rather than simply the total volume of milk produced.
Components are king.
Bulls with high component yields and positive component deviations are highly valued in all these regions, which directly reflects the growing prevalence of component-based milk pricing structures around the world. Switzerland's explicit focus on improving protein percentages in milk is a prime example of this important trend.
Okay, so we've taken in a massive amount of information. Now let's bring it all back to the farm. What does all of this mean for you and the breeding decisions you're making for your dairy herd?
Well, the overarching message that really resonates across all of these global evaluations is the continued and growing importance of adopting a well-rounded, balanced approach to your breeding program.
Yep.
Resist the temptation to chase after just one or two extreme traits. Instead, focus on identifying those bulls that offer a strong overall package of high production, solid conformation, and robust health and fitness characteristics that best align with the specific goals and priorities of your individual dairy operation.
And if animal welfare is a significant consideration for you, and frankly, it should be on every modern dairy farm, the exciting emergence of elite polled genetics at the very top of these global rankings now provides a fantastic and increasingly viable opportunity for you to integrate this valuable trait into your breeding program without having to make any compromises on other key performance indicators.
Right.
It's no longer a trade-off you have to make.
Don't ever underestimate the significant and often compounding economic impact of breeding for healthy and long-lasting cows in your herd.
So true.
The consistent global emphasis on these crucial fitness traits in all the international evaluation systems directly underscores their vital link to the long-term profitability and sustainability of your dairy business.
A cow that stays in your herd for more lactations and requires fewer health interventions is, quite simply, a more profitable cow over her lifetime.
Think very carefully about your specific milk market and how you are compensated for the milk you produce. The increasing value being placed on milk components, the butterfat and protein in virtually every corner of the dairy world, strongly suggests that strategically selecting for bulls that are genetically predisposed to improve your herd's protein and butterfat percentages is likely to be a smart and financially sound long-term strategy for maximizing your milk revenue. And finally, take real encouragement from the fact that the ongoing advancements in the reliability of genetic evaluations, particularly with the successful implementation of innovative methods like Germany's single-step system, mean that you can have more confidence than ever before in the accuracy of the genetic predictions you are using to make your critical breeding decisions.
Yeah.
This enhanced reliability empowers you to make more precise and effective selections, ultimately leading to faster and more predictable genetic progress within your dairy herd.
So there you have it, the April 2025 Global Holstein Evaluations, a fascinating snapshot of historic base changes in the U.S., the steady and balanced progress in Canada, the revolutionary single-step methodology in Germany, and the strong sustainability focus in Switzerland, all interwoven with the undeniable rise of poll genetics and the continued global pursuit of breeding balanced, healthy, and efficient dairy cows.
Yeah.
The key takeaway for you: keep your breeding goals well-rounded, prioritize the health and longevity of your animals, and the future of dairy breeding looks incredibly promising.
This comprehensive global overview really paints a clear and compelling picture of where the field of dairy cattle genetics is heading. As you carefully consider these significant trends and the unique strengths highlighted within each of these major international evaluation systems, what specific strategic adjustments might you consider implementing in your own breeding program to best position your dairy herd for sustained long-term success and enhanced profitability in this continuously evolving landscape? That's the crucial question for you to ponder.
Some truly significant food for thought to chew on, folks. We sincerely hope this deep dive into the latest global Holstein evaluations has provided you with a much clearer understanding of the key developments happening on the international genetics stage. Please keep your insightful questions coming our way, and don't hesitate to let us know what other complex topics you'd like us to unpack for you in future deep dives. Until our next conversation, keep breeding those exceptional dairy cows.
That's our deep dive into the April 2025 evaluations. If you're hungry for more, visit thebulvine.com for the full analysis and global sire rankings. Before you go, hit subscribe so you don't miss our next episode on managing inbreeding in the genomics era. Got questions? Slide into our DMs at the Bulvine. We might feature your query on air. Until next time, remember, in a world of shifting genetic bases, focus on relative progress, not just absolutes. Thanks for joining us. Signing off from the front lines of dairy genetics.